Ooh, are we on? I think we're on. So hi everybody, my name is Becky Lodge. I'm the founder of StartUp Disruptors, which is an entrepreneurial business community, online and a social media phenomenon, which has been building over the last 5-6 years. I wanted to just say hello and welcome you today to this kind of cup of tea feed, or in my case, a glass of water, and in Dan's case, a cup of coffee, I think, probably really strong. So I just wanted to introduce us, because you may know me, but you're probably not aware of Dan, who's new to the business, and also just wanted to see if you're okay, because times have been very, very difficult recently for everybody, least of all small business owners and people that have been working from home as a self-employed business owner. And we just wanted to check in to see if you're okay. So yeah, we have a good announcement that we're expanding. It was inevitable really, and Dan's now come on board as our operations director. So I'm just going to hand over to Dan to briefly introduce himself. He can explain a little bit about the order and process that he's going to bring to the business, but also a little bit more about what we do, and during these difficult times, how we can best support you moving forward. So over to you, Dan, no pressure.
Okay, so I'm Dan, and I've joined the business formally in the last couple of weeks. Prior to this, I was working for the University of Portsmouth for a couple of years, and prior to that in the civil service, and I've got a bit of a varied background. And yeah, what I'm hoping to do is to bring some order to all of this, try and improve our systems and processes so that everything flows quite smoothly, so that we can help more people and help people in a better way as we expand, because it's been expanding quite fearlessly over the last few months, the last year really. So yes, that's what I'm hoping to do. And even more so important, I think at this time when life's a little bit interesting and challenging, we are hoping to help more people now. Certainly as England falls into lockdown again later this week. Is that a surprise? Probably not. I think we all knew it was coming in the summer, that we'd be heading this way in the winter. But whilst that perhaps gives people some concerns, I think it gives people some time to think about what they want to do next, and perhaps develop themselves or formulate a new business. Because if everywhere else is closed and you're staying at home more, time is on your hands. Finally, you won't have that commute. You won't have to get that bus to to get you to work. So there should be some more time in the day where people can plan a bit and think about what they want to do, and then we're here to help. The days are long, so if all of your traveling time is coming out and all of your shopping time is coming out because everything's delivered, if you can get a slot, time is on everyone's hands, I think. So with that, there's an opportunity for everybody, and we're hoping to help people.
I think one of the big things that we talked about when we started up was there was no real community locally to look after people, because primarily one of the biggest fundamental ethics of this group and of the business was that we wanted to make sure that people had a safe space to be able to trust people and to find good suppliers and just good people that seemed to be in short supply. Because when I started, it was a little bit like the Wild West. I'd been in the safety of corporate and very structured businesses for a very long time, with very set teams of people and who were responsible and accountable. And one of the big things that I noticed is that basically people were charlatans, and there was a lot of snake oil in the market. And as you know, because Dan, willingly or unwillingly came out to a lot of our pub meetups, which we used to do 3 times a month across Portsmouth, Southampton and Chichester for a long time. And we were very lucky in that we got quite a bit of corporate support very early on. But not everybody has those contacts, and not everybody has that support. And especially those people who are quite introverted find it more difficult to start businesses. Not to say that they haven't got a great business idea, but what part of this group was about us, or certainly me, wanting to share my struggle and my story, just to, not even be an inspiration, but just to say to people, look, I made these mistakes. Please don't make these mistakes, because they're costly. They can affect your mental health. Right now, because of, it's great, as Dan said, that you've got a lot of time on your hands, and that leads to a lot of overthinking potentially, and that can cause often a mental health crisis, which is what we don't want for people. But we are a supportive community, and we do support one another. And this is how business is shifting and changing, in that we're going away from these very sort of big corporate models of, screwing everything over for profit, to actually people wanting to create a sustainable business for themselves and their families. And there's nothing wrong in that. But for too long, I think that society has focused too much on the pound rather than the person. And for me, it's not a political statement. It's just a question of how do we actually ensure that people are looked after correctly and get the right information. Yes, it's a business model, but it's not, I suppose, an aggressive one, in the sense that we don't place, people's well-being. Money doesn't happen to be more important than people. And I think that that's what people were frustrated by, because for years and years, people are saying, they're making money as business coaches, they're making money exploiting new startups. And to me, that just wasn't acceptable. So it was, how do we create a one-to-many community with a peer-to-peer led ethos? You can come here, you can make friends, you can find all the answers that you want, you can get signposted to stuff. And people didn't like it, and people still don't like it. But I think for me, it was about, how do we find the right tribe for you? If you're, a person who is caring and does want to create something to look after your family, then we are the people to help you do that. We're not going to be for everybody. We do have the ability to be able to help people with everything from an idea, because that's really where most people businesses are during the pandemic. It's, I've had this idea or this side gig off the back of doing my day job and maybe pretending to work for my employer during working hours, with a view to planning to get out, and that's totally fine. But you need support in that. So I think Dan can talk firsthand about the kind of stuff that he saw me go through very early on. And I did write a book about this, which is on Amazon, on Kindle as well. So you can buy that book, and it's $9.99, so it's not going to break the bank. But I had to do that for my own mental health in year one, because I would have gone slightly mad, and not in a good way, because the pressures are so great that you just aren't aware. And your family and friends can be supportive, but unless they're going through it themselves, they don't understand it. So I think, Dan, you would be best placed just to comment a little bit about, it was a massive emotional roller coaster for me very early on. And one of the things I do say is, I was crying at the kitchen table every night, thinking, what am I doing? And at one point, nearly gave up in year one, in about month 6, because I got screwed over by a supplier. So what would you say from, obviously you have a totally different view of it as my husband. What did you see going on very early on, Dan, with me?
I think it was obvious to see that it was very difficult. There was a lot to do coming from the workplace, where you've got very defined teams and departments. You've got an HR department, you've got an IT department, you've got an IT expert, the man that comes in to fix the computer, the person that comes in to put the printer on, and all that's gone. If it's just you and your kitchen table, you spend the first day plugging in, second day trying to get the Wi-Fi sorted out, and just every little bit takes a long time. But eventually, progress is made, and it's going well. But yeah, the setbacks, I think, become quite prominent because it's just you, or it's just one person. The setbacks do feel a bit crap. But every now and again, you get a success, and I think they're good to try and hang on to and try to remember those. So where as a client will perhaps walk off, that's difficult. But on the positive side, every now and again, we had some feedback, you'll get a letter from someone that says how grateful you are that you've helped them and you've transformed their life. And that's really, really good. And you probably wouldn't actually get that buzz working for an employer. You don't really get that kind of interaction to that level, I think, or that kind of feedback. So I think it's taking the rough with the smooth, but be prepared. I think you were prepared for the rough bits. So it wasn't too bad. I don't think anybody else in the same situation now needs to be prepared that it's not all going to be plain sailing. You're not going to get rich quick. It's a long haul. We do all the cheesy lines like it's a marathon, not a sprint. But it's just trying to navigate your way through everything that you need to do, and that's where the support group comes in handy. That we can help with that, and we've helped hundreds, thousands of people even in the last 4 or 5 years. Just trying to steer people in the right direction, trying to take some of the fear away, and trying to point them in the direction of good suppliers and advising people to shop around. I think the biggest thing that people have is they just don't know what to do straight away, apart from the fact that they need to do something. So very quickly they'll sign up to an accountant who's really perhaps a bit too big for them, and they're just going to fleece them. Or the website. How many times do we see people that sign up for a 5-page website and it's £1,500? What? For 5 pages? And then it's another 1,000 to host it. Oh, is that not included? No. And next thing, you're paying all this money to get online. And then you find that if you shop around a bit, you can get a much better deal from much better, more favourable suppliers. Because it is very easy to get ripped off. Or the other networking groups where you pay a tenner to go for breakfast at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's a rubber fried egg or a hard sausage that you don't really like. And basically, the only people winning out of that are the caterers, because that's where the money's going. And eventually, someone will talk about something. And if anything, all they're trying to do is sell you more stuff or another membership. It might be another £1,000. So we're trying to avoid that model. And I think we've had some success, or you've had that success, to disrupt that otherwise not so good market.
Yeah, I think for me, I get fed up because people sort of say, oh, you're just another networking group. And I just say, no, we're not. That's absolutely not what we do. You don't understand what we do at all. And if that's what you're looking for, you're probably going to be sorely disappointed. Jog on. And because for me, it's about, if you don't, have a sustainable ecosystem of small business owners that have a like-minded way of looking at the world, you don't have anything. And I think that when we started out with 9 people and grew to 150 people, we had to get a bigger pub. And then I thought, we're on to something. Our whole ethos was, when we started, was to stop people getting ripped off. It was just as simple as that. I've been in international sales and marketing for 25 years before starting up, and just couldn't believe that people in their local community were just shredding people for money and not thinking that they were going to actually have to be here in 5 years' time, still, with the same people in the same city. So for me, it's that kind of exploitation is unutterably unacceptable. And why would you do it? It's just really poor business practice. And I think that getting away from that very short-term mentality was key for me. We're not open to everybody. This community isn't open to everybody. We're very selective about who we choose to come in. So networking groups drive volume, and they lose a lot. And networking groups have historically been, and I've been to thousands of them during my career, chucking business cards at people, having a lot of really uninteresting conversations where nothing's going to come from it because you just don't get on that well with somebody and you don't trust them. And for me, I wanted to create something that was the absolute opposite end of the scale to that. And this was it. StartUp Disruptors, the keys in the name, were about disruption. What I wanted to do was much bigger, was actually take on the public sector provision, which is totally government funded and often absolutely appalling. How can people who are employed by somebody else deliver business support if they have absolutely zero experience of running a business themselves? To me, it was just crazy. And we see this in a lot of the really bad free support that there is out there. And, I have feedback time and again from people saying, I went to this, particular resource, which is government funded or free, and it was awful. And they didn't understand the business model that I was trying to create, or they just basically didn't understand anything about the fact that I don't want to start a social enterprise. I want to start a profit-making business. And I just thought, this for us is where we shine. You know, we're creating a private sector version of what the public sector should be good at. And of course, you're going to upset a lot of people because the aspiration is so massive, but that's where the gapping is. And to me, it was just a case of, who do I need for that? Where do I go? You know, we need disruptive names, and people were petrified by this, you know. I've even had people say, you know, they're scared just because of the size of the idea. And I just said, well, if you're not going large, then there's no point, because the idea of disruption is about changing everything forever. And people in Britain, we're a risk-averse nation. We don't like change. But fundamentally, at the core of what we do, it's about disrupting and bringing very old school, old-fashioned, you know, things to the fore, like kindness and generosity, and also support and community. And these are, you know, things that are really, as humans, things that we seek out. So it's much more a way of life than it is, you know, a business. And I think, you know, people don't understand why you're doing it. You know, Simon Sinek talks a lot about start with your why. Well, why do I do it? I do it because I want to help people. We do it because we want to create a community that is unassailably brilliant at business, and for those businesses that join us to thrive. And we're not actually, you know, charging a fortune for that. You know, we have a subscription program for £19.99 a month. If you're not spending 20 quid a month on your business, you haven't got a business. It's as simple as that. And in relation to a lot of the other, you know, coaches and charlatans that were in the area, we're extremely minimal. We give, you know, over £1,500 worth of value for under 240 quid a year, and you don't have to sign up for a year. It is literally cancel anytime plan. Again, people were bemused, and Dan, you know, Dan knows this better than anybody. Is why would you do this? You know, what does it mean? Why would you go for this? And I just said, because it's the right thing to do. And you know, 5 years on, or 5 years on this year in July, with StartUp Disruptors as a brand, we've got some great corporate sponsors. You know, we've got Uber, they've been here since day one. We've got Transmit Startups that help with funding, so they provide government-backed loans to a very early stage and idea stage startups. From there, we've got Funding Circle, year 3. If you've got 3 years of accounts, we work with Funding Circle to get people funded from 3 years and above. We've got Faster Capital, who are the first online tech incubator, who can actually help with equity share and technical support if you're looking for funding for a tech startup. And I think, I don't know what people were actually scared of. It was either the fact that we created something so quickly and so fast that they were almost shocked in that we'd seemed to have done it in a blink of an eye. But what was actually happening, as Dan knows, was 120 hours a week and no holidays and no rest, and just an ultra hyper focus on improving the business model and the business. And that's how I was driven. That's how things happened. And I don't think sometimes, and it's not an excuse to get out my tiny violin at all, but it's just, people have to realize that having a business is like having a child, in that the commitment you have to give to it is exponential, it's huge. And it's not the easy option, which is why I always say to people, start something on the side of your day job. And that way that you will actually find out whether or not it's going to succeed or fail. And then come to us. We can, you know, give advice. We can give signposting to free stuff that's actually good, that's worth thousands of pounds in some cases, that can help you with market research. And people are like, well, I've only got a hobbyist business from home. I'm only selling bits and pieces on eBay. Still applies. You still need a business model. You still need to work out what you're doing. Because if you want to build, if most people are earning about, you know, average UK wage, I think, is about £37,000 a year. If you want to earn that, it might take you 2 to 3 years, or maybe up to 5 years in business to earn that, if it's a creative business. So people are utterly unrealistic sometimes in their expectations. And also, we're heavily focused in our community on getting people to sell things, and also connecting them with people that want to buy from them. And it's just because we can make a sustainable economy that way. So I think for me, it's do the right thing, always do the right thing, even when nobody's watching. Teams are really important, and this is partly why Dan's come on board now. We're actually, people are like, well, how do you do all this if it's just you? But as Dan will explain now, we've got a team of 6 now. You know, we've been online for the last 4.5, well, certainly with Little Kangan for 5, 5 coming up to 6 years now. So for us, it was nothing new. We were always operating that way. And in the coming weeks, we're going to do more sessions like this so that, we can talk to more experts in different areas. And if you check out our Facebook page and our group, we've actually got a whole unit section, which has a whole host of free resources for you. Yes, you watching today. Please don't pay for anything, because we've already put the stuff in the Facebook group. The biggest waste of time that we see, I think, and Dan might back me up on this, when people first start, is I've got to do everything myself. I've got to do everything myself. I'm a megalomaniac. And I was like this, guilty. I've got to try and do everything on my own, and you just flatline and you burn out and you just can't do it. So you need to come to a community where you've got everything. We've got everything from graphic design to web design to just everything, relaxation, well-being, therapy, everything that you're going to need. We've got business planning advice for more of the structure. But one of the things I would say to you is being an entrepreneur or being a small business owner from home is an emotionally driven journey, which can take a huge toll on your mental health. You can be incredibly socially isolated very quickly, and you don't realize that you're going down that awful rabbit hole of overthinking, over-analyzing, comparison on social media. And as part of this, and I've mentored, and we've mentored now over 3,000 people to help them start a business. And very early on, I realized that I'm many things, but I'm not a professional psychologist or counsellor. And we have a partnership with the mental health charity Mind in the Solent area. And we're hoping to spread that out with them nationally, hopefully, fingers crossed, to actually look after the people in our community, because sometimes people need a little bit more help than we can give in terms of it's all going to be okay, because it will be. Pandemics will pass. Unfortunately, right now, everybody's living in fear, which is human nature, and that's a natural reaction and a natural response, but it won't last forever. And that's one thing that I can promise you, it won't. So look after one another. And I would say, if there's any tips that I can give you, it's keep in contact with people, get in contact with your community. At the moment, we have a massive Facebook group, which is nearly 2,000 people strong. So please come into that. And we have themed days where we talk to each other and interact online via Facebook. Sign up if you wish to. Again, no pressure, because that's not the way that we roll. Come in, talk to our members, and see what you think. We're happy for people to do that. And literally, we're a one-stop shop, so you don't need anything or anybody else. Our members tend to stay with us a really long time. We've got very high retention rate. And we coach, we help, and we mentor, and you can't get that anywhere else for 20 quid a month. Maybe I should put the pricing up, I don't know, but that's not what we're about. So I think, Dan, is there any sort of other tips that you can give people at this time? Is kind of stay connected and make sure that you're talking to people and going out and exercising. Yeah. And it sounds really basic, but
I think going out and getting the exercise is good, and the fresh air. Always following the rules that are in place, that are ever changing. But I think it's connecting with other people. I think the whole world has learned in the last 6 months to connect on these platforms like Zoom, which a lot of people perhaps haven't heard of in January, but most people have by March. It's all very, very quick. But I think with the startup community, people working for themselves, the isolation has always been an issue. We did a couple of years back, we did some audio features that ran on a radio station in Portsmouth, featuring our members, or some of our members. We did about 15 of them. So we interviewed 15 people in a day, about two per hour from what I remember. So it was quite an intense day. But they were all telling their own story, all saying their own bit. And about 13 out of the 15 people all commented that they found it quite lonely and isolating working on their own, and that being part of this group really helped them feel connected and being part of a bigger group. And it was really interesting to hear that from those people, because it's almost as if we said, look, you know what, if you're going to say this as a key message. And we hadn't. They all said it completely independently of each other. So when these things ran on the radio, it became a very consistent theme. But it's true, and it was a really good demonstration of the benefit of this group, that it can bring people together, because it can be quite lonely. The world that we're in, where we're perhaps not allowed out and not allowed to go down the pub and socialise, it can be even more lonely. So I think we're all trying to find new ways of connecting with people. So this group will continue with that over the coming weeks and months, and we'll do more stuff like this and use this technology that we have, on this screen here. It's great that we can connect to so many people today, on your laptop, your PC, iPhone, or other mobile devices that are available. The technology's there and it's all built in. So we're going to utilise it to help you.
But I think what people were fundamentally scared by when I started the group was the fact that I seem to have some sort of crystal ball or future thinking ability. And maybe I have and maybe I haven't, but it's not about me. It's about helping people to bring people together. And that's what I've always been driven by. And I think that it's very hard for people to trust people right now. I mean, we've had a member join this week who's basically, been right through the ringer in terms of, somebody's tried to rinse them with regard to social media support, which they don't need at the very early stage. You're not even there yet. You've got to build brand for the first 3 to 5 years. And I think the problem is it matters who's giving you the advice, and it matters whether they're qualified. And people, can either be intimidated, or they can say, do you know what, if we can access for 20 quid a month, somebody that's been doing this as a career for nearly 30 years, who's qualified, who's a lecturer at local universities in operational sales management and has been building other people's businesses, I'm going to pay that person 20 quid rather than some other person 3 grand that's just decided to start up in their living room. There's nothing wrong with that person starting up in their living room. But what I get extremely frustrated and wound up by is people that are seeking to exploit people. So, if you're going in, if you're totally unqualified as a business coach and you have no business experience to share, or you've never coached anybody or never mentored anybody, then you have no right in my mind to go out and try and exploit somebody for 5 grand a time. So to me, it was, if we can provide something, and we're aiming to help 10,000 startups in the next 5 years from home with our corporate partner support, because people are like, well, how do you make your money? And I'm like, none of your business really. But we are, the modern day Robin Hoods, taking from the big corporates to give to those people that really, really deserve it. And we're the first people in the UK to do this. So this is why, if you're first, it's always tough. So for innovators out there, if you feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall, there's no surprise in that. But you have to be mentally resilient in ways that you can only imagine. But it's, how do we create a community of people that understand that that's what you're going through? And we do a lot of emotional and psychological support as part of our community and well-being. Because ultimately, if you're not looked after, then you don't have a business. Because if you can't get out of bed in the morning, you can't operate. And I think for a long time, entrepreneurship especially has been positioned, especially in America and especially by white men generally, as grind, hustle, of course you've got to work hard, but it cannot be at the detriment of your mental health. And I think that the inequality in business, and I'm huge on parity and diversity in business, that if you're only seeing something from a singular point of view, you're always going to fail. You have to have more than one brain in the room. And this community is about giving you back that support network that you probably would have had in your corporate life. The team of people who you can trust, who are going to be there no matter what. one of the things we did recently for one of our members who was living on a boat, he lost his boat in a fire. He had nowhere to live. He was homeless. So with the support of people from this community, we raised nearly £2,000 for him in 14 days on a crowdfund to replace his home. Who else does that? I can't. The community that we've created, because it's not just me, it's just an idea that I had, and now it's kind of passing that over, passing the baton over to other people to say, we're creating a community that is sustainable, and it's grown through word of mouth, and that's what I want. This community is wholly owned by you, not by me, and I hope it always will be, because otherwise it's going to be not what we wanted to create. And I think that in times that we're in now, this actually shows the true colours of people and shows the true colours of businesses. And we're actually seeing a lot now that we perhaps didn't know before. And being a good person really, really matters. And I think that that's probably a great note to end on, which is, if you want our help, we're here. Right now, we have a free Facebook group, and there's nearly 2,000 people in that. So we're not even charging. There isn't a catch. Sorry. For the first time, maybe in your small business life, there isn't a catch. You can join it. It's been there for best part of 5 years. There's a lot of really cool people in it. We have different themed days, as I said earlier, units that you can take advantage of, learning units, and posts and resources and information from the UK government about support currently in the pandemic. We're doing all the work, so please don't do it. We're doing it. And, for the cynics out there that would say, well, if you're free, then you're the product. Well, yes, you are. We do put some adverts in the group, but we also allowed you to advertise in the group as well. That's totally free. So, yeah, just get involved. Come and see. If you like us, great. Then, you can upgrade for a whopping £20 a month, which is the minimum exposure. So 20 quid a month's worth of gamble. If 20 quid, still 20 quid. But I would encourage you to look at a lot of our successes that we've had, where we've got people funded, scaled up and employing people, if that's the route you want to go down. We've got people funded and just working from home, which is also really cool. And we've brought Dan on board, obviously, to help facilitate the next stage of our journey as well, which is going to be scaling up, providing more support online and offline, hopefully, eventually, and bringing on more corporate partners to help us. Check us out on our website and on our social media feeds. We're everywhere. And we'd love to have you. If you're sitting there right now and you're lonely and you're desperate and you need support, you don't have to be on your own. That's it. We're here. But you have to take that action. Without action, then nothing happens. And the difference between success and failure is the doing. So please come and join us. Dan, any last notes from you with regard to supportive information or other bits and pieces?
No, just that I think that we're here to help and happy to do so. So in the meantime, everyone stay safe.
Yeah. So any questions you've got, then please add them in the bottom. Whatever platform you're on, we'll probably pick them up. Please find us on LinkedIn. So I'm Becky Lodge, Little Kanga on LinkedIn, and obviously Dan Lodge, Little Kanga on LinkedIn. Please do join us. It would be beautiful to see you online anywhere, and it would be a delight to get to know you soon. So in the meantime, I'm just going to pop the end button on. So as I would say, I'll reiterate what Dan said, stay safe, my friend. Please stay safe. Pay attention to the rules. And from a rule breaker, I'm finding it really hard. But your health is absolutely paramount. And the most important thing is you on this planet. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again soon. Ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.